welcome back to Why This Film, the podcast where we reach back into your childhood, pluck out a movie, give it a rewatch, and have a chat about it. I'm Emily Slade, and welcome back. You watched it so many times before, and now you're gonna watch it again. But it's been so many years since you last saw it, and now you show it to your friends, and they're like, what?
What am I watching?
Why?
What is this?
Why this film? And I'm joined again today by James. Hello.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming back. Very exciting stuff. You've chosen Pokémon the Movie 2000, which came out kind of disappointingly in 1999, according to IMDb. The IMDb breakdown is Ash Ketchum must gather the 3 spheres of fire, ice, and lightning in order to restore balance to the Orange Islands. What's your relationship with this movie?
Well, Pokemon is something which has been a big part of my life since I was young. When I was about 6, my family moved towns, and it's always that scary thing of leaving behind all you know up to that point and all your friends. And the one thing I clung on to in that time was this little Pikachu plushie. And yeah, and I still got it. It's worn and torn, but and faded, but yeah, it's got me through, and Pokemon helped me form some friendships in primary school, and it helped me form friendships in secondary school with people that are I'm still great friends with to this day.
Oh, that's so cool. So why Pokemon 2? Why not Pokemon 1?
Well, I did have both of them on video, but I always preferred Pokemon the Movie 2000. Maybe it's because it had a lot more legendary Pokemon, which I was like, oh yeah, it's so cool to see them. Maybe it was just because it didn't make me as sad at the end. But that was just the one I kept watching, and I considered my favorite for so long. And it was just the prospect of revisiting it was too good for me to pass up.
Yeah. Oh my God. So as you know, I've done Pokemon 3 on this podcast before. It was a very, very early one that I did, and I can't remember it at all, if I'm honest. I don't think I was very kind to it.
No, you did not like it. But I can't judge. I actually haven't seen that one.
Ah, okay. Yeah. I'm gonna get straight into it. I really liked this movie. I thought it was a really solid movie.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. So I never, like, if I'm at a pub quiz and there's a Pokemon question, you can probably rely on me to help you out a bit, because the question's going to be fairly generic, and I can say Misty and Brock and know what I'm talking about, and I can sort of get far enough in like a round of like name as many Pokemon as you can, if I really think about it. But it was never really, I played the Game Boy game much later in my life when I was like at college, when it was having a resurgence, and then I never downloaded the Pokemon Go app. Like it's never really been something that I've been like, oh yeah, Pokemon, like let's fucking get into that as like a big hobby. But I really love the concept, and I really love that it's so popular. And this movie is genuinely solid. There's a very clear budget there, a very good story. I think they got all of the, I watched the English dub, and I think it's the same people that were doing the dub for the TV show.
Yes, yeah, it was. They like to keep them together so fans would have some kind of continuity.
Which is so great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is quite good that it gives, if you were a fan at the time, it gives you exactly what you know and love. For better or worse in some cases. I mean, the Ash and Misty romance, they hint at it for so long in the anime, and they end up doing nothing with it. And bringing it over into the film just kind of highlights that it's just something that's left hanging in the air, and keeping it in a film that's under 80 minutes just makes it feel like, okay, where's this going? And it goes nowhere in the film.
Yeah, I have to say, the minute there was that sort of introduction of the warring women
Hmm.
and the jealous sort of nearly girlfriend, I was like, no, stop. You were doing so well. Please, come on. Stop, 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 stop. And it's not so bad. They sort of save themselves. Like at the very start, we're introduced to this new female character who clearly has a crush on Ash, and Misty's clearly jealous, and there's this whole sort of mini subplot, if you will, about these two women being like, and it's more about, as you say, Misty coming to terms with her feelings for Ash, if we can
Hmm.
even call it that, because it's very sort of shallow what's
Mm,
happening. And
it's barely.
yeah. And like, it didn't go so far into the like two women competing for a man thing. It's sort of Melody, who's this woman on the island, sort of is there to help Misty come out, as it were, about her emotions towards Ash. But even then, nothing comes of it so much. It's some throwaway weird jokes, and it didn't make me as angry as like it could have done. But I was still like, why is this here? We have such good stuff happening. This is boring more than anything in comparison. And I get why they did it. To an extent, but clearly they didn't even care about it. They were just like, we should probably do something with this.
No, it just felt like something else, which they were like, "Ooh, add that in. Fans will
Mm.
love that." And
Yeah.
it just, I don't think it was needed. I think it.
Yeah, definitely, completely
Hmm.
agree. It was the only thing that I was really like, no, stop. um I really liked the villain. Really interesting, sort of, again, we don't get to know much about anyone because I think the
Hmm.
main drive of this movie is the Pokemon, and that's very obvious, and that's completely fine. It's a Pokemon movie. But he's really cool. He's sort of like, he's called the Collector, and he's got a cool design and a cool airship, and really evil motives, because it's very selfish, where he's just sort of like, I want to have these special Pokemon for myself, even though they're going to cause like climate change or whatever.
Yeah, he's ultimately just an instigator in it.
Mm.
He just sows the seeds and makes them battle each other, and then he just steps away. And when it's an opportune moment to serve himself, he'll come back in and just try and get what he really wants. And it actually, even though they don't name him in the film, I have to look it up. His name is Lawrence the Third,
Oh wow.
because his accent isn't posh enough. He's got to be the third of his kind.
That's amazing. I can imagine as a kid, I don't suppose he was particularly like scary. Like you
Mm.
weren't gonna have like nightmares about him. Was he memorable as a villain when you were a kid?
Honestly, the only thing I can remember about him was that his whole journey started off from this ancient U card, which is probably the first instance of Pokemon cards being named in a franchise,
Oh, that's
which is
cool.
so it's a nice thing, and it ties. Okay, and thinking about it, it probably is a bit. Um, how do I put this? It's probably a bit self-serving of the creators, because when this film was in cinemas, you got the ancient Mew cards.
Yeah, I have an ancient Mew card.
So do I.
Like, don't ask me how, but he brought it out at the end of the movie, and he was like,
Hmm.
"This all started with you, ancient Mew card," and I was like, "What the hell? I've got one of them." I don't
Oh,
know. I think maybe it came in. Maybe I did get it at the cinema. Maybe I got it in a cereal packet or something. But I love it because it's shiny and it's got
it's awesome. It's so
Mew on it.
different from the other cards, but
Yeah.
they're only like a couple quid off eBay now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're hardly, they're not at all like rare or clever. They're just, I always really
no,
liked it because it was shimmery and it's got
unlike
fun.
it's unlikely to make an evil collector start nowadays.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably looking at like an original Pokemon for that kind of thing. Look at me talking
And
like I know.
it's good. It doesn't feel like I'm speaking alien now. It's
Yeah, no, it's I do know enough. My absolute favorite thing about Pokemon is
Mm.
Team Rocket. It's hands down
Oh
Team
yeah.
Rocket. And this movie does such a wonderful thing with them. As I say, I've stuck the TV show on in the background before, but I've never
Hmm.
like followed it. I can't tell you the like mythos and backstory as I could for something like Avatar. Um, but I love Team Rocket. I had to message my friend halfway through because there's a joke where because Team Rocket, they're anything between like 16 and 30, right? Like, how old are they?
I think it's. I don't know if it's addressed in the show, but I think I read they're meant to be about 25.
That makes sense, which is really
Mm.
fucking cool because there's like 12-year-olds and then these like couple of weird 25-year-olds hanging around like, hey, what's up? I really love that. And I messaged my friend and I was like, are they related? Are they like brother and sister? Because there's a joke that if they are, that was an incest joke. And I didn't understand it. And I was like, whoa, 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 what is going on? And she was like, no, I don't think they're related. I think like Jesse comes from an aristocratic family that he ran away from. And, oh no, sorry, James comes from an aristocratic family. And then Jesse is like someone else, it's a randomer, daughter of a
No,
squire.
no, your friend got it right. They're not related. They're
God.
just thrust together to. Their whole goal is to capture Pikachu because their first
Aw,
meeting with Ash, Pikachu wiped them out, and they're like, "Oh, this Pikachu's stronger than anything we've ever faced. Let's capture it." And
nice.
that's been their goal for 20 years now.
I love it. One day, hopefully, they'll succeed. I really dig
Oh
them. I really
no,
do.
not
And
Pikachu.
they're so fun. They're such fun. And they put a little twist on their little like entrance poem where they were like, "We're on the big screen." And fucking Meowth. My God, what a gem. I would die for Meowth. I think she?
Meowth is a he, I
Meowth
believe.
is a he. Um, always has the last word,
Mm.
always hilarious. I have to, where is it? Right, so this movie is really wonderful to Team Rocket. They give them an opportunity to be good guys for once, where they sacrifice themselves as much as you can in a movie where nobody dies, for Ash to succeed. And I think that's really, really cool. And I assume immediately in the TV show they went back to trying to hunt down Pikachu and be evil and stuff. But right
Pretty
before
much.
they let go of the like Pokemon to help Ash because they're too heavy
Mm.
and you can't fly away. There's a brilliant sequence of dialogue where Jesse's like, "We have to let go. We're too heavy." And James says, "Maybe we should try Weight Watchers." And Jesse says, "It's too late for that." And Meowth says, "I heard it's never too late if you really stick to the program." I died. That is so funny. And I didn't do it justice at all. And then they do a wonderful reference to Jungle where they're like, we're gonna
We're gonna
die.
die.
And they're just so much fun. Every time they're on screen, they look great, they sound great, and they're just so much fun. And they're in this movie enough as well that they make sense to be there and they have a whole arc themselves. And it's really cool. So there's not really an antagonist in the way that you would think there would be in like a kids animated movie,
Mm.
because the collector, as you say, is more sort of there just fucking shit up as opposed to like actually trying to hurt anyone. Would you argue this movie is about climate change?
I was wondering that it is essentially Ash and co trying to fight against the elements rather than an actual villain they can just have Pikachu electrocute in the face and move on. Um, as for an actual climate change message, maybe if there's enough work, you can find a climate change message in there. But if there is, it's lost on me.
Yeah, yeah. When it first started, I was like, "Ooh, is this gonna have like kind of Fern Gully vibes?" But it's nowhere near on the nose as those classic 90s like save the rainforest kind of things. But there is I think you're right. I think if someone wanted to find a climate change message in there, they could do it. But it's very much buried and you would have to sort of think about tying stuff together. But it reminded me of climate change. So I was like, that counts.
That's a good start.
It's a good start. Is the what's it called? I want to call it the
Lugia.
Louis. That's the one. I was like the Luigi.
Oh yeah, and his brother Mario.
Yeah, yeah. That's like part of the air, and this one's in the ocean. Is it? I don't know really how Pokemon work in terms of their levels. You talked about legendary Pokemon. So
Yeah.
is that are the four that we? So you had the Earth, air, lightning, and water, I believe. Were they in the cards? Were they in the show? Were they introduced for this movie? Were they invented for this movie? Do you know?
They were all not. None of them were invented for the movie. Um, they were all already in the game, already in the cards. I think they might have been introduced in the show, but I'm not 100% certain on that. But a lot of the Pokemon films are pretty much ways to get Ash and Co to encounter a new legendary Pokemon you could try and catch in the games.
Oh,
But
nice.
the thing with the legendaries is, like in the games and the show, they're one of a kind. It's if you want to catch them all, you have to catch that one, or that's it. You'll never complete the Pokedex.
Oh my
But
God.
but the difference between the games and the anime, I find, is in the anime, it's in the games, it lives up to that "gotta catch 'em all" motto a lot more.
Mm.
But in the anime, these legendary Pokemon, everyone knows they're the only ones, so they treat them more like rare endangered species. So it's like
Oh.
we love to see them, but we shouldn't catch them. We should let them be and live their lives. Whereas then you've got the collector coming in, who's just all, I
Right.
want to catch them and display them like they're a Michelangelo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that does like make a bit more sense now. Yeah, because I was a bit sort of like I was taken aback with oh yeah, let's do it. Let's get into the like ethics behind Pokemon because
Okay.
when there's one point where the collector's like Misty turns or Melody, one of them turns to the collector and she's like, "You treat Pokemon like they're just things to collect." It's like so do you, Misty. Like you're holding one right now that like is yours that you've assumed taken off the street because I didn't realize at the beginning you see lots of the are they Magikarp? Is that a thing? Did I make that up?
The little red fishies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Magikarp.
Yes. They're all
You
in the
got it.
street. I'm gonna screw it up now. And then there's ones in the
Don't worry.
sky, the like brown bird ones.
Oh, the
Sparrow. Oh yeah, no, I've got no idea what they're
Peaches.
called. That's it.
Spearows are Spearows are of the same generation. It's easy to get mixed up,
Ah,
so don't feel bad about that.
yes. But yeah, there was tons of them, like a bunch like flying through the sky and a bunch like
Hmm.
swimming in the sea. And I was like, oh, I always thought there was like one of every Pokemon, which doesn't even make sense now I think about it because you could fight the same Pokemon against each other sometimes in the game. You'd,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, you've got an Abra and they've got an Abra. Mr. Mime is weird. What's going on there? What is that? What's that
What,
about?
the one with Ash's mum?
Who I didn't realize was Ash's mum. I was like, who's this young
Did you not?
woman who's like the same age as Jesse and James? And then later on, it's like, hi, I'm your mom and you're my hero, Ash. And I was like, oh my God, you're like 20. What is going on with that design? Um,
I don't know. But what is it you want to know about Mr. Mime?
yeah, what the hell is it? Like, why is it
Um,
hanging out with Ash's mum as like a servant?
oh, in the anime, it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I do recall Ash helping the Mr. Mime, and it bonded with Ash's mum. I think it's less of a pet and a servant, and more of just a roommate for Ash's mum.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Is there just one Mr. Mime?
No, no, Mr. Mime. There's plentiful of them.
Oh,
They're,
okay.
so it's not like Ash's mum has this one rare
Just,
Pokemon and is
yeah.
making it sweep up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because then a bunch of are they Diglets? Is that what they're
Yeah,
called?
the little poo
Yeah.
ones.
Look at me going. Yeah, yeah. The cute little poops with eyes. A bunch of them ran past, and again, so I was thinking, oh, is there just one Mr. Mime? That's it, because everything else sort of makes sense aesthetically. You've got that looks like a bird, and that looks like a fish, and even they could arguably look like little molehills. or like little
Just
creatures that live underground.
casually stealing bikes.
Yeah, yeah. But Mr. Mime looks like an almost alien in comparison to the other Pokemon designs. And I think once you get past the original, because there was like 150 original Pokemon, is that right?
Yeah, in the first game, but
And
then
then they made a bunch more, and I remember the designs of some new ones coming out
Mhm.
I want to say around when Pokemon Go was coming out, because people were talking about it, and I remember people being quite angry because they all looked like ugly and weird, um, in comparison to
Oh,
the like clever designs of the original.
yeah, that's a common complaint I find.
Yeah.
But then you go back to the original 150 and you're like, purple rat, brown
Yeah.
bird. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, oh, sure, that's intuitive.
Yeah.
Good.
I think it's just because we're all used to it now, and it's all in our minds, as it were.
Nostalgia as well.
That's it. So is it ethically, what is the like morals behind capturing and training these animals to fight each other? Because isn't that, and I don't want to go too much into the first movie, but
Hmm.
isn't that the whole point at the end of the first movie, that they look at the violence that they sort of do, where they fight each other and they're like, no, we shouldn't do this.
Oh, you've opened up something.
Oh no,
Um,
I can put it back.
no,
I can put it
it's
back.
okay, it's okay. Basically, with the first movie, you've got this legendary Pokemon Mewtwo,
Mhm.
who's a clone of another Pokemon.
Ooh.
So he makes his own, kidnaps a load of Pokemon and makes clones of them. And the
Ah.
whole thing is he wants to prove we're clones, we're better than you. And something must have got lost in translation, because the original Japanese, the message was these clones have just as much rights as the original. And when it came over to the US, it became fighting,
Oh
bad.
God, why is
Yeah,
that not even surprising?
yeah.
Japan are
So
like, here is this sweet and thoughtful message that's important to the children learn, and America is like, let's have all the Pokemon fight each other. The kids will love that.
they even have a song playing over when Ash sees all the battling, which is just about peace and let's not fight.
Oh
It's
my God.
it's heavy-handed,
On
but
the
it's
nose.
also a bit of a bop.
I have to say, this lived up to the 90s slash early 2000s. One of my favorite parts of every animated movie that came out in that era. It had a fucking banging credit song. Like it legitimately, it has Donna Summer,
Hmm.
singer of Hot Stuff, singing this song called The Power of One. And I was like, this is brilliant. This is a jam. This is great. And then it had another song for a bit, like more of a sort of creditsy song. And then it had Flying Without Wings.
Oh yeah, Westlife.
I was like, this is great. The soundtrack to this movie is great. And it is lovely, though. I know they changed it from the original Japanese music,
Mm.
but oh God, La Luga,
Lugia.
Lugia has its
Yeah.
own like special like "Ooh, I'm a Loch Ness Monster" song, which is really lovely, and then she plays it on the like shell, which is really nice. So I
Mm.
think all the music's really, really cool. Like it's just, it's not groundbreaking, but it's like, yeah, I love it. I love that kind of stuff.
It's funny. I've watched this so many times as a kid, and it's only now where I actually sit through the credits where I realise, oh my god, Westlife's playing Weird Al Yankovic.
Yeah,
What is this
yeah.
timeline?
It's so bizarre. There's like credits because what's really lovely about Japanese movies, Studio Ghibli do this a lot as well,
Hmm.
where they sort of continue the story through the credits. Like when an American movie finishes, early Pixar would have done fake bloopers halfway through. You might get a mid or end credit sequence in some movies, um, but they literally like the screen doesn't go black like it does in the West. It continues and we see people, nothing major, nothing like important plot points, but we see the journey carry on. We see them like leave the island and we see them go back home and we see them finish up their festival and stuff. And it's the same in like Whisper of the Heart does it. It's just one solid shot while the credits are rolling, but you see all these people's journeys carrying on and like what they're getting up to 5 minutes after the credits started rolling. And I always think that's really, really lovely because the story hasn't ended even though the movie has. And it's just really nice, and I wish we did it over here in the West more.
No, it is a lovely addition, and they did it with the first movie as well, where you see the characters. It's yeah, nothing groundbreaking, but it's lovely to just see these characters having another adventure, even if it's just going and exploring.
Yeah.
And it's it's a lovely way to continue on, and also it's a good way to get people to sit through the credits.
Yeah, yeah. Such a good point. Because, I
Mm,
mean, the amount of animators' names that were coming up, and I was genuinely, I don't know why I was expecting it to be bad, but I was really pleasantly surprised with the quality of the animation of the movie. Like it, especially the sort of layered CGI that they did for the ship and for some of the like was it a Pokedex that he had in his ship that showed what creature he was going to get next? Because the animation was slightly different.
I think that was just meant to be one of those smart computers which answers
Ah,
his every beck and whim.
nice.
Mm.
But it was really nice. It was really pretty animation. There was some really lovely hand-drawn scenes of like the island and the sea, and it was the action scenes were really well animated as well. I found them really like fun to watch. Um, it was really cool, and it didn't.
It was seamless.
Yeah, it really was, and it didn't do that sort of because I know Avatar is both Western and Eastern inspired animation, and sometimes they'll
Hmm.
fall into that thing of the exaggerated faces. Like if you watch One Piece, you
Oh
see
yeah.
like the big faces with the like hearts on their eyes and stuff, and this movie didn't really do that sort of thing. So I don't know if it's a certain age group that they start doing that for, but it was very grounded in that sense. It was very sort of like, okay, there are Pokemon, but like it's the world and like it's normal. Like it's
Mm.
fine. And like these are normal people.
It is worth saying they do tap into the exaggerated faces, especially with I don't know if you remember from the third film, but Brock, who's used to be with who was with Ash and Misty in that film.
Yeah. Oh,
He
okay.
always did that. Can I ask, what did you think of Tracy, the replacement for Brock in this film?
Yeah, that did throw me. I liked her. I mean, she was sort of a nothing character, but as a nothing character, she had a really cool design, and she was a woman, and she like drove her own boat. I was like, this is cool.
Oh,
Why?
not that one. I
Oh, not
meant
that one.
the one with the headband and the green top, who's always sketching.
Oh my God, who's that?
He had like three Pokemon, a
Oh,
Cypher and a Marill and a Venonat.
oh
The
yeah, because there was her that drove the boat, and then there was
mm,
him that like hung out with them the whole time.
yeah.
Well, I mean, that sort of sums up. He made no impact on me at all. Why was he replaced? Why was Brock replaced? Because Brock did appear in
Oh,
the movie.
it's a hell of a story.
Ooh.
Okay, so when when Pokemon was about to come over to Western audiences, I believe they were going from the Kanto region, the first region, to the Orange Islands,
Hmm.
which was in Japan. Orange Islands was where they was at in this film.
Hmm.
And in an interview with a former Pokemon anime director, what's his name? Masamitsu Hidaka, hopefully I haven't butchered that, um, he stated that Tracy exists because the creators were worried Brock would be received by Western audiences as a racist stereotype because of his design and his eyes. But then what happened was, so what they did was they made Tracy, who was a tall white man, to take over Brock's role and said
Hmm.
had Brock go bye bye. But audiences didn't care. They just wondered where is Brock. So
Yeah.
after a season, Tracy fucked off and Brock came back, and Tracy barely seen again, and nobody seems to care.
That's so bizarre because was Brock in the first movie?
Yes, he was.
Yeah. So, and were there complaints about his aesthetic? Because
Not that I can see. I've had a
he,
look, and it doesn't even seem to be that one where you get articles buried deep where people like can
yeah,
talk about this problematic thing.
yeah.
It's
Because
just
I've
nobody
never.
seemed to care.
No, that's really interesting that you would say that because that's usually I'm like each to their own, you know, all these people that are like flipping tables about people being too snowflakey and PC and it's like half the
Mm.
time it's justified and you're like, no, 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 that is racist. You're just being a dick about it. Um, but I can't like racist towards whom?
I think what they were worried is the way Brock was drawn, because if you recall, his eyes were
His eyes
just
are
two
just
lines.
right, so that's sort of like a Tintin animated, like racist interpretation
Mm.
of the sort of slant eye.
Yeah, I
Um,
think they were worried it'd be
I
received in such a way.
I kind of get that, but I like it's so. It always to me looked like they were his eyebrows, and his eyes were so small that they were like hidden under his eyebrows. And I don't know if that's stupid, but it was always just like the interesting way that I don't know, we always just sort of took it as gospel and I've never looked
Mm.
back on it as an adult and been like, oh my god, I never even realized how bad that was. I've always just been like, that is Brock from Pokemon. Next.
Mm.
That's really interesting. I mean, people listening, if you think that Brock is problematically drawn, do tell us. Yeah, it's really, really interesting.
Why This Film podcast really brings up nostalgia for most of us. And speaking of nostalgia, have you ever wondered what your mom was like before you were born? Have you ever asked her questions like, what were you afraid of as a kid? Or, if you could choose your last words to me, Mom, what would they be? These are big and small questions, and ones you might not really think about until you can't ask them anymore. Hi, I'm Melissa, huge fan of Why This Film podcast, and I'm bringing all this up because after losing my mom unexpectedly, I realized how many things about her life and opinions and our family I didn't know or just didn't remember. So instead of just sitting on my pity pot, I wrote a journaling book that I can fill out for my daughters and you and your mom can fill out. It's called Questions You'll Wish You Asked, a time capsule journal for mothers and daughters. The book is available on Amazon, or you can call your local bookstore and ask them to order it for you. Ask those questions. Write down your answers. Your future self will thank you, I promise.
And really, yeah, Jay, what's his name?
Jesse and James?
No, the guy that replaced Brock.
Oh, Tracy.
Tracy.
I've already forgotten about him.
Literally. Yeah, if you were going to replace Brock, at least like do it with someone. I mean, they didn't need a third person, really, did they? Because
Not
even
really.
without the romance subplot, if we can even call it that,
What does he do?
it's like, yeah, he's so pointless. Because especially because they introduced the girl with the boat and Melody, who also has her own boat.
Mm.
Even more useless. There were enough like side characters to be like, hey, we got this sorted.
This is their first appearance, might be their only appearance, but they were a lot more help than Tracy was, an established character. I mean, there was the point where Ash was using his Pokemon to try and break out Moltres, and Tracy's like, we can't give up, we gotta keep trying. And it's like, where's your Pokemon?
Thank you, Tracy. Shut up. Either help or be quiet. Yeah, like Melody was active and like, you know, as annoying as it was that the two women were like, when you marry him. I was like, oh my god, shut up. Like, there are lots of female characters in this movie and it does not pass the Bechdel test, but it is, they're fine. They're all individual, you know. I remember her name for one, so that's pretty decent. Another person's name who I remember, who I love, probably my favorite character, the Slow King.
Oh, Slow King, yeah.
Mate, I love him so much. He's like a little pink hippo with a funny skull hat on backwards, and he's got this like doobie 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 voice, and he like, we just cut to him every now and then while we're establishing stuff that's happening. It's very good at establishing. I'm so used to watching bad movies that I'm always so pleasantly surprised again, where I'm like, I am following this plot and it's making sense and it's all tying into each other. It's very good. And yeah, like I will just cut to him every now and then and he'll be like, something pessimistic, like a weird little Eeyore that's like a prophetic.
I could use pants.
Yeah. It's so good. And then he finally meets Ash and he's like, "Hi there, Ash Ketchum." And Ash is like, "Whoa, how do you know my name?" Which leads us into the Chosen One narrative that we need to delve into. But
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I love the Slowking. I thought he was a brilliant little addition. And
It's
from what I
interesting
could
he's talking.
this is the thing, I was going to mention that as well, because Meowth talks, and I googled it, and it's because he's got a backstory where he teaches himself how to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Lugia.
Lugia talks.
Sorry to keep correcting you.
No, do keep correcting me. I was like, where is it? I've got it written down. Oh no, it's coming out of my mouth already, and I got it wrong. The Lugia talks, but without moving their mouth. It's more like a
Telepathy.
Yeah, that's the word. I was like, communication from the brain. Yeah, telepathy with Ash, which is fine because it's like a big old legendary Loch Ness monster Pokemon that's like, this is very mystical and it makes sense that I'm talking, I guess, because also it helps the plot. And then the Slowking talks, just like a person, and he's just like, "Hey everyone, what's up?" And there's no real reason for it to be happening, but I love it.
Just because, why not?
Just because. I love him. Is he in the show? Is he in the
I think that is only a Slowking is an actual Pokemon you can get. You have to evolve him a special way, but you can get him in the cards, in the games, but this specific Slowking, he's just on that island and stays there.
Aww, I love him. The island is really cool. It's a really cool design. It's like this Stonehenge-y kind of vibe, and they like light up. It was just a really nice mix of like ancient sort of mythology and modern people coming together. It really worked. The Chosen One narrative didn't work for me. It felt pasted on top. Like they kept referring to it and being like, "Ash, you're the only one that can help." And it's like, why?
Because it rhymes and has his name, a common name.
This is the thing. I mean, at one point he's like, "Well, I'm currently wishing my name was Tommy, so it wasn't me that had to do this," or something. And I was just like, you don't have to do this. Like, I don't believe that you are the chosen one. Like, this is a very weak Chosen One narrative where you're only been chosen because you're Ash Ketchum and this is a Pokemon movie. Like, it would have been cooler if, like, Misty had been chosen, or even Melody. At least then it makes sense because she's part of that tribe and civilization. It's really, I'm not coming for this movie because they made Ash Ketchum the main character, but I was just a bit like, oh, shut up. Like, everyone stop patting Ash Ketchum on the back, like, for doing the bare minimum. Like, come on. He's not that great. Is that controversial for me to say?
Probably not. I mean, people have nostalgia for Ash, but they are quick to point out that he wants to be the very best. It's taken him a hell of a lot of time. No matter how many years he stays at 10 years old, he's still got a lot of work to do. But it is always that part of Ash's who Ash is, that he's always willing to throw himself in there to help out. And so to me, it made sense that whether or not the prophecy specifically mentioned him, he would try and get the birds to stop attacking each other. He would try and make and save the day.
That's true.
He would try and cross over an icy lake with his Pokemon dragging him.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah, regardless, even if it was like, "Misty, you're the chosen one," Ash would be there being like, "Don't worry, everybody, I got this." Because he just can't butt out. I thought it was nice having his mum come in at the end and be like classic mum vibes, but it lasted like 7 minutes of her just being like, "Young man, don't ever try and save the world without my permission again, or if you are going to do it closer to home because I love you. When I go to sleep at night, you're the only one that I care about, and I would die for you, and how could you possibly put me in so much worry, but I'm so glad that you're safe." And I was like, I get it, you're his mom. Like, shut up, Mom, this is super embarrassing. I just saved the world. Come on, my friends are here. I don't know. I didn't really, it lasted a very long time for something that other than like, make sure that you always say that you love your mom. I didn't.
Every day you're my hero.
Yeah. Honestly, I was like, did we need that? Did we like, not only Ash are you wonderful and brilliant and all the women love you and you save the day, your mum is incredibly supportive and will do anything for you. Aren't you just the fucking bee's knees, Ash Ketchum?
He literally just pops up in the end with Professor Oak and Ivy, and then the
Mm.
professors are like, quick, we need to get back after climbing all those rocks down. Let's exit stage left quite sharpishly.
Literally. It's like, well, that's done. Let's go. The credits are gonna roll any minute now. Very funny. I loved they never ending storied us.
Never ending story.
Yeah.
I've
Right at
not
the
seen
end.
that.
Oh man. Okay, so spoilers for Neverending Story.
Take it.
At the end. Okay, at the end of the Neverending Story, which is about a young boy that is reading a book about a fantasy land that's dying. And in the book, there's another hero who's trying to save that fantasy land. But the two storylines kind of interconnect, and you start to realize that the boy reading the book possibly has more of a stuff to do within the actual narrative of the story. Blah, 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 blah. He ends up in the place at the end. And there's a character called the Childlike Empress who starts getting super meta. She's like, there's someone who can save us right now. He's reading this very book. And Bastian's like, what? Oh my god, no, they can't be talking about me. I'm just reading this book, and suddenly this book is telling me about me. And she's like, he's all part of the never-ending story, and whilst he's reading our story, other people are following his. And you're like, wait, what? And she's like, they were with him when he ran from the bullies in the bookstore. And she starts explaining like the movie that you've been watching, and she turns to the camera and she's like, you're all part of the never-ending story. And you're like, oh god, this little girl knows I'm watching a movie. And they do that in Pokemon 2000.
Oh.
They have the Slowking being like, some people do know that you're a hero. They're watching us right now. And he looks to camera, and then Jesse and James looks to camera like, oh, okay. And you're like, ah! I love it so much.
Slowking was breaking down walls before Deadpool was ever a thing.
Literally! You keep your Deadpool. Slowking's breaking that fourth wall. Him and the Childlike Empress, like, bringing the meta to the... I got nothing, but it's brilliant. Really, really enjoyed that.
That's quite cool.
But yeah, did you think it held up to when you were a kid?
Well, that would be a high bar. I mean, I thought this was as you said, the bee's knees when I was young, and I did have issues, of course, with Misty's never going nowhere romance and Tracy, God forbid. But I have been rewatching a few Pokemon films as of late, and this one stood out among them as being one of the far better ones, one of the ones which does hold up a lot more outside of just pure nostalgia.
I can believe that. It has a solid story that wraps itself up. It makes sense. It's interesting. I really loved just the congregating of Pokemon. Like they were like rushing to the island to get there just in case they were like needed to help out because they're more in tune with nature and they know there's an imbalance and they all want to. But it was just really cool watching all of these Pokemon, like those that can make it by sky are heading through the air, and those that travel by sea are coming in their droves through the waves, and those that walk on the land are all congregating on the island nearest to the place. And I was just like, this is awesome! Look at all the Pokemon! This is really cool! So it still has that sort of, and this is as someone that, as I say, like, doesn't know Pokemon. So maybe if you did, you'd be a bit more like, I think you'll find about it, or not as impressed because you're just like, yeah, it's just Pokemon. What do you want? But I'm like, it's really fun to see a world where these creatures exist alongside humans and they're part of the whole cycle of nature, and they're like literal monsters, and like I don't know why some of them are called pocket monsters, because some of them are literal like sea beasts, but they're adorable.
Pocket monsters. It's just well, it's the expanded Pokemon. It doesn't really fit when you've got Lugia is technically a pocket monster. Whose pocket?
God's pocket. But yeah.
God is a Pokemon, actually.
That would be so good. Is God Mew?
No, I'm genuine. There is a
God.
Pokemon who's pretty much God. It's not
What
for
is
a few
it?
generations. It's called Arceus.
I'm literally googling it right now.
Yep.
Arceus. And I must see what it looks like. Bloody hell. So it's like a spiky white deer
Hmm.
with like gold tap shoes and a barbed wire on its stomach.
I love that you focused on the tap shoes.
They're adorable. Aww.
See,
Got a
if we were made in
cool-
that God's image, we'd all be fine.
Would all be awesome. Would be spiky white deer. That's really cool. That's good. I was like, I'm not even gonna lie, I was a bit like, a god Pokemon. How good is that gonna look? It looks awesome. It looks legit awesome. Like it's not like a little Diglett. It's like a legit like creature that's like powerful. And it doesn't really look like anything. I say a deer, but like just
It is its own beast.
yeah, which is really, really cool. And yeah, all of the designs of the Pokemon are really cool. They have a really fun opening sequence at the beginning of this movie where they're like testing out all of, well, not testing out, I don't know if they're letting them out for fresh air. Like, what's the inside of a Pokeball like? Is it like the genie's lamp where it's comfortable?
That is something fans have been pondering for a while. I mean, there is one bit where, as like the end of an episode, you see just a Psyduck, the dopey little yellow duck, in a Pokeball, and it's just nothing.
Oh no.
But don't know if that's representative of it all. But then when Pokemon go back to, say, Professor Oaks to stay there, they're often let out their Pokeballs, just roam around the grass, have fun with each other, just eating, and it's a lot more of a chill vibe there. So it's not like, I'll just put you in the back and you can stay there for 40 years until I need you.
Literally. And what does Professor Oak do with them all?
Just looks after them until the trainers needs them.
Why do we need to? What's a train? Because clearly these animals live just fine in the wild. So is it like domesticating them, or is it like capturing them and making them fight against each other, like cockfighting?
Oh, that's a tough one.
You know, like what's the sort of like vibe here? Because when I thought they were like rare monsters that lived amongst humans, I was like, okay, maybe they're a threat and you have to catch them and train them and then they're fine. But it just looks like they're like fucking mice and rabbits and deer and foxes that are just chilling in the world, and then people are like, get in my ball and fight each other, and you're like, Jesus, I'm just trying to eat some tree, leave me alone.
I mean, I suppose it depends on the individual person, but the whole thing with Pokemon is, yeah, capturing them and making them fight. I think it's more, it's not like I'm gonna fight you until you're dead and then kill you some more. It's more just like, I suppose, friendly wrestling, or friendly wrestling, but they got moves which are literally poison powder.
Yeah. And it's not really fair making like a fox wrestle a snake or a fish wrestle a bear, which sort of seems like the differences between some of these Pokemon. But I'm sure plenty of people will come forward with justifications as to why that's okay. And I'm going to pretend that when they're in the Pokeball, it's like a really decently budgeted zoo where because if they're a Magikarp and you put them in a Pokeball, how do they live?
Oh, that's the thing.
How do they live, James? They're fish, they need water. You're putting them in a bowl.
Technically, they can exist outside of water.
Ooh.
It's not like they have to be in water forever or they die.
Oh, okay. I think it's the case of, similar to Harry Potter, that someone had a really cool idea and it kickstarted and it was really cool. And everyone saw that it was really cool, so they expanded it. And by expanding it, they started to suffer under their own coolness, because they were like, we were never intending to like have to think about this properly, and like this was just a really cool idea. And now you're like, what do you mean technology doesn't work at Hogwarts? What if I'm a Muggleborn and it's 2001 and I want to be able to Skype my mum and dad, but you're telling me that my laptop won't plug into the broadband that doesn't exist at Hogwarts? How? I'm not going to send them a fucking owl. They live in like fucking Staines. Like, no, Dumbledore, sort it out. Jesus. What do you mean I have to use a quill? I'm not going to use a quill. I've used a biro all my life. Like, what is this? I don't know. I don't think about that kind of thing too much.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, well, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed this.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, much more than I think I enjoyed Pokemon 3. So it'd be interesting to go back and rewatch that one to see if I was just grumpy because I was like, nah, Pokemon, or whether it was a bad movie. So if you rewatch it, or if you watch it for the first time, then do let me know what you think of Pokemon 3. And I should probably watch Pokemon 1 because I've never watched that either. But maybe we can come back on again and do it. So then we're sort of going backwards in time. 3, 2, 1.
I'd be up for that.
Definitely, we'll book it in. Do you have anything to plug?
Oh yes, I do.
Anywhere we can find you?
Yes, well, the main place you can find me is my site, thereviewingrodders.co.uk, where I publish articles, but it's mainly writing film reviews about stuff which is brand new or little gems that I want to highlight. But I can also be found writing for, let's see, there's flyfidelity.co.uk, where I often post monthly retrospectives looking back on a film which is celebrating a birthday, like 5 years of Mad Max Fury Road or 30 years of David Lynch's Wild at Heart, and I try to do a good job, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I also write reviews for snakebitereviews.weebly.com, and then I also write for zobowithashotgun.com. It's mainly reviews, but
nice. That's really, really awesome. Yeah, I read your review for Host. Is that what it was called?
Yes. Oh God, that. Not gonna lie, that fucked me up.
I am so excited. We've added it to our Halloween to make it a trilogy with Ghostwatch and the Inside Number 9 special, because it was recommended somewhere that you do that, and I'm very, very excited to watch it because I saw it advertised and I was like, that looks shit. And then like the reviews started coming out and everyone was like, no, seriously, like watch this with the lights on and not on your laptop. Because I was like, oh, a Zoom movie coming out of lockdown. No one had that idea. Because obviously I'm in the acting industry, and like everyone every day, their parents were like, I know that your acting jobs have dried up, but why don't you write a movie that's based about lockdown and record it on Zoom? And everyone was like, oh, well, yeah, why don't I just do that? But some people did do that, but people that had a platform that were able to get it out there and do it well. So I'm very excited to watch it.
They literally had to direct actors how to apply their makeup over Zoom, and
that's so cool. I mean,
yes,
it's great that the movie's really good as well, because it's got this whole behind the scenes-ness of it that's so unique, one of the first of its kind.
And you might think twice about using Zoom after watching it.
Oh no, I love Zoom. No, I am genuinely. I mean, I've messaged my friend and I was like, maybe we should watch it over Zoom, but I don't.
Oh my God.
I don't think I would be able to. I think it would be a really good idea right up until we press play, and then I would be like, nope.
Well, I watched it on my laptop with headphones on, and I was just jumping out my skin, and by the end I was just like, oh.
Oh my God, I have to see it. I don't want to spoil it for myself, because I know if I don't watch it soon, I'm going to go Google what happens, and I don't want to, but I also know I'm not going to be able to sleep. Oh man.
Oh, I hope you enjoy that.
Thank you.
I hope it gives you nightmares.
Yeah, it almost definitely will. Ghostwatch still does, and I know everything that happens in it, and I watch it every year. and I'm still like, pipes. So this definitely will.
No, I was
but yeah.
listening to an Evolution of Horror podcast about Ghostwatch, and they had just a clip of Pipes talking, and I just started shivering in my car in the sweltering heat, and it was just like, oh my god.
It's so cleverly done, man. It's so, and that's another one with like controversial backstory and like unique sort of ideas and stuff. And then for Inside Number 9 to sort of do the vibe, and I was at a live Q&A with Reece Shearsmith, and I brought it up. I was like, tell me about your Inside Number 9 live episode, because I really loved it. Were you trying to do a ghost watch? And he was like, no, we never intended to do a ghost watch. We never wanted to do a live episode. We thought it was just a shit idea, but the BBC made us do it. But then they got to do what they got to do. They were like, they're never going to let us use the like BBC screen holder things that are like, we've got a problem, but they did let them use them, so they got to tell the story that they wanted to try out with, and I just thought it was fucking genius, and I really, really loved it.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool.
The whispering, that's what really got me.
Oh mate, that bit when like she's like, really sorry, but there's a problem going on with the hello, and you're just like, she's so dead.
Oh god, just giving me flashbacks now.
I know, sorry. It's really, really scary, and then when it gets into it, it sort of calms down a bit, but it's still really frightening and like terrifying at bits. But once you see the woman at the back of Reece Shearsmith said himself, he said it was a massive compliment that like 70% of the audience turned off, because they were like, this is shit, it's broken, like we can't, fuck, oh well, guess I'll watch it at a later date. And they all turned off, and like my friend was watching it live. I couldn't watch it live, I was too scared. And,
no, I didn't.
No way, because the timing was so perfect. Like the time on the thing was the same time, like it was real, it was happening, and that added to such a thing. And she was and she was like, this can't, they've chosen the one episode that's like silent, so like they can't possibly, how could this, I don't know. And then like she saw something in the background of one of the shots, and she turned to her friend and was like, did you see that? And the friend was like, no. And she was like, oh my god, what is happening? And then the figure appears at the window, and she was like, oh thank god, okay, we're doing a thing. We're in the thing now. Here it comes.
And when they tweet on that episode, they are actually live tweeting.
Yes, so clever. And just really lovely things of like, Mark in the league chat has said, turn the TV on, you guys are on TV, and you can see like feet in the mirror. So clever stuff. Like just really simple, like just so brilliant. I love it so much. I love them so much. I want them on my podcast. If you're listening,
that would be a dream.
Reece Shearsmith, I love you. But yeah, that was Host. Gonna watch Host. It's like,
awesome.
How did we get here? Thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure you'll be back on to do Pokemon 1.
Just say when and I'll be there.
Where I'll do a lot more research into the ethics and morals behind the Pokemon and the Pokedex. But thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time on Why This Film. Bye!